Good morning, folks. This is Jenn Espinosa-Goswami coming to you live from my page at Be Weightless. Sorry for all the shifting around here. It has been some time since I've been live because I've been super busy, which is a wonderful thing. I have a lot of really good things happening in my business and my life right now, so not complaining at all, and I apologize for not giving you the time and attention you need here in my community. Because if there's one thing I want to share with you, it's that I appreciate you being in my community, and I hope you're getting tons of value, whether I'm going live or not. I wanted to come on live today and talk about some things that have been coming up in conversations with not just prospective clients, but also with experts and people I very much respect in the health community. And I wanted to get your feedback and your thoughts on this conversation because I important one to have, and I'd really love to hear what you think about this conversation. So last week I was at a conference called Fusion 2.0. It was sponsored by a company called Salvio, which I had not been familiar with before, but apparently is making huge waves in the industry. It's in the HR and talent management industry, and they hold this conference that just brings together people in health and wellness because there's continuing education credits for people who are certified in health and wellness, especially wellness program managers. It also brings in HR, executives, business owners, a wide variety of people who are interested in changing the conversation around well-being at work. I knew it was a place I needed to go to, and one of the coolest things about it was I got to meet one of my sheroes, Dr. Michelle May, who is the founder of Am I Hungry, which is basically a movement around mindful eating. And she's normally in Phoenix. So I got to meet her in person, which I don't know if she's ever been to the Twin Cities before, but certainly since I've been on her mailing list and have been following her work, I have not heard of her coming locally here. So of course it was an opportunity I couldn't miss. But one of the things that was a foundational principle, if you will, of this conference was the idea that restrictive dieting is not the future of wellness, if you will. And also this idea that focusing on weight as a component of wellness is not only misleading, but it's actually harmful to health. And this is a very difficult thing for me to put my arms around. A lot of the people I connected with who are at the forefront of this movement of a non-weight-based approach to health have not had personal experiences with being obese, or if they seem to be on the opposite side of the spectrum. And when I say spectrum, I mean there are people who have always been obese, like me, and there are people on the opposite side who have yo-yo dieted themselves into a very unhealthy place. And the way I see it and the experiences I've had and conversations I've had is people who are on the side of eating disorder or yo-yo dieting to the point of unhealthy living are the ones who are at the forefront of this non-weight-based approach. And I mean, full disclosure here, I'm a health coach, and most of the programs I provide to my clients and the services I provide to my clients do offer weight as a goal, as an end point, as a destination, if you will. And I feel challenged by the idea and this assumption that losing weight could be bad for anyone, and that taking weight out of the conversation, there's this feeling that it's going to take anything negative out of the conversation. And I think that's not right. I don't think that's the point. And I think some people who focus too heavily on weight, yes, that's a good conversation to have, that maybe weight is not the end all be all. And these are conversations I have with my clients as well. Not everyone I work with wants to lose weight, and that's okay. Some of the best clients I've had don't want to lose weight at all. And but it's interesting because no one I've ever worked with has ever been disappointed if weight loss seemed to happen as a result of working with me. So I wanted to open up this conversation about weight. Is weight really a bad thing as a measurement tool for a health program? And then I'd also like to offer an invitation if you're watching this live, because I want to hear a little bit more about what it is you're looking to do as we exit 2018 and enter 2019. So this is very much an interactive, come as you are conversation. Feel free to say hi in the comments if you pop on and see this video. Again, my name is Jenn Espinosa-Goswami, and I'm the owner and health coach over at Weightless. This is my own company. It is a non-diet approach, if you will, in the sense that I don't sponsor or advocate any particular weight loss program. I do offer a process that is effective for both me and my own 100-pound weight loss journey and my clients' journey. Some of them everything from no weight goals to 50 pounds down. So I use a similar process with everyone that I work with. It informs all of my programs and all of my offerings that I serve with clients. I also do a la carte meal planning services for those who are going through a restriction diet by necessity, not because they think that food is bad for them, but because they found out they have an adverse reaction to certain foods and they don't know how to approach this new dietary plan. So those are some of the ways that I serve people. Now, I mentioned that I have personal experience with losing weight. And you may have heard the statistics out there. And one of the workshop presenters that I heard at Fusion last week said that of the 13 of the 14 people who were followed from The Biggest Loser TV show. So raise your hand in the comments or comment below if you've seen The Biggest Loser, if you liked The Biggest Loser, if you know what The Biggest Loser is. You might know it from Jillian Michaels, Bob Harper. Those were some of the most popular trainers that were participating in The Biggest Loser. But there was a study done of the people who participated in The Biggest Loser, and they were followed for 6 years after they completed their portion of the show. These were people who were obviously very successful. I don't know that they were the ones who won The Biggest Loser, but they were ones who were successful in The Biggest Loser. By the way, I don't think anyone who ever joined The Biggest Loser was unsuccessful. I mean, they weren't beating the other people in terms of how fast they lost weight, so they'd get kicked off the show, but they were not unsuccessful in my opinion. So just throwing that out there. But so life is not a competition. You know, just because you don't lose the same percentage of weight as someone else in your group doesn't make you less of a loser, if you will. That's my perspective. But these people were followed for 6 years after they completed the show. And not surprisingly, 13 of the 14 regained most, if not all, of the weight they had lost on the show. And there was a bunch of news articles around this. I think it was on NBC, CBS. It was covered so widely because it was further proof that people who lose weight regain it, or they lose weight to cycle back into yo-yoing because they struggle again, and then they find a different program to take, and then they keep going back into the process. The weight loss industry is like $100 billion industry. Don't quote me on that because I'm not a numbers person and I don't have a statistic to give to you, but that's approximately how much money is in the weight loss industry, regardless of what program or endorsement is out there. So it's not surprising that all of these people on the show who for the first time in their lives felt amazing achievement and success in their own ability to transform themselves, because I think most of us can agree that anyone who was on The Biggest Loser made a significant transformation in their lives. But they also probably for the first time were so public with their attempts that they might have had lots of conversations with people both before and after the show. So that puts a different type of persona on these people, even with their loved ones, their friends, people that connected to in social media. I'm sure it changed some of the conversations these people were having both before and after the show. And then finally, this feeling of, you know, anyone can succeed when you're on a ranch, a fat ranch, or whatever you want to call it, where you have 24/7 personal training, motivational presentations, you're talking to producers, there's a lot on the line, right? But what happens after the fact? And unfortunately, the truth is there. The study was done well, and these people regained the weight. And some of them were heavier than when they started the show. So this was seized upon, if you will, to show proof that anyone who loses weight, or the majority of people, so not anyone, there's still that 1% out there who, that one person in this 14 person group or study, control group, who did not regain the weight. but that person's considered a unicorn, right? It just doesn't exist. It's impossible. Beating the odds, being part of the top 1%, whatever you want to call it. That person is considered above and beyond, right? So unfortunately, most people look to the people who didn't keep the weight off instead of the person who did keep the weight off. And here's where that approach is not serving people. And here's why I get angry about this. And yes, I got angry about it. And if you follow my personal profile or we're friends, you have seen me post about this because I got a little bit triggered by this whole conversation. And they even, so in this workshop I was at, they even took it a step further, and someone who co-hosted the conference, actually, who's a big fan and advocate of health at every size, which is also known as the HAES movement, he basically said it was unethical to not hand these studies of failures of people to maintain their weight. He said it was unethical not to share that research and those statistics with people who are pursuing a health program. And I took problem with that. I took issue with that. I said my piece and I got out of that room as fast as I could because I knew I was not going to keep my mouth shut. And sometimes it's good for me to keep my mouth shut. Just being honest. But so I don't consider myself a unicorn. I am one of the 1%. And what I mean by that is I lost my 100 pounds about 18 years ago. I can't believe it's been 18 years. Yeah, it's been a long time for me. And despite the fact that I cycled up and down as a result of pregnancy, birth, and all those things, I have more or less maintained that weight loss long term. So people look to me as the unicorn, right? The 1%. She's above the curve. There's something special about her. There's nothing special about me. I'm going to repeat that. There's nothing special about me. I'm not a unicorn. And just because I seem to go against the statistics and these Biggest Loser studies and all those things doesn't mean that I'm the only one. And it doesn't mean that it's not possible for you. So when people ask me, I think the most intriguing thing that people come across when they meet me or when they hear me present at a group, or they connect with me through networking and learn that I'm a health coach. Sometimes I get the, oh, you're a health coach conversation, because I don't look like a health coach, right? I'm not sitting there eating all plant-based, kale and organic and all that good stuff. That's not who I am, and that's not who I serve. If you're already on that spectrum, then you are serving a different kind of person than I am. But people sometimes get confused because they're like, oh, well, there must be something special about Jenn. And Jenn is not someone who could stand on a Biggest Loser platform. And this is not anything anyone has overtly said to me. It's something that I say to myself sometimes. But I'm not the kind of person you're going to see in her underwear on a Biggest Loser platform. Oh, I lost the most weight of my group. Because I don't care about weight loss. I care about helping my clients get to where they want to get. And sometimes that includes weight loss. But like I mentioned before, we're in this for ourselves. And most of us have this conception, or have had this conception, maybe not anymore, that our weight is our worth. Our weight has never had anything to do with our worth or our value or our power or our beauty or anything that is an innate characteristic of who we are. Our weight is our outer representation of our physical being. It has nothing to do with anything that's inside of us. And beauty is inside of us. Character is inside of us. Personality is inside of us. We can show it outwardly through things we wear, how we speak, who we connect with. But those things were never tied to our physical being, really, when you get down to the bottom line. What does this have to do with weight maintenance, really? Here's the thing. There are people who regain weight after losing a significant amount of weight because they don't know how to be their new size, if you will. And I can connect with this personally. By the way, if you're joining me on this live, I would love to hear if you've lost weight in the past, whether that's 10 pounds, 20 pounds, whatever. If you've lost some amount of weight, not your typical 5 pounds kind of thing, but like some amount of weight that took some effort on your part, Did it take you some time to inhabit that new person, who that person was after you lost the weight? Here's why I bring that up. I don't think the problem is that we are not able to maintain our weight. I think the problem is that we are not able to maintain our identity at that lower weight. I'm going to repeat that. The problem is not that as humans, as people, as achievers, maintain a physical weight. Our problem is that we have a hard time maintaining that new identity at a lower weight. Because while weight has nothing to do with your value or your worth, it does have to do with your self-image. And that's something that we can change the conversation all we want. It's not going to change how we see ourselves necessarily. Unless you're an advocate for Hayes, and then you go girl, you do your thing. Or you go guy or boy or whatever, you do your thing. I'm not here to take away from anyone's approach to feeling the best they can in their body. What I'm saying is you need to understand that it's not just physical. It never was just physical, but how you hold yourself and how you carry yourself, and whether it's difficult for you to be at that higher weight. You have to learn a new way and a new identity for yourself after the weight comes off. It's not automatic. That's why I build mindset into my programs when I work with people. That's why it took me 3 years after I lost 100 pounds, 3 years before I properly inhabited my new identity. I never shared my story of weight loss. People who knew me could see the difference, but I never shared it with new people I met. I never shared it publicly until 3 years after it was a fact. I never felt like it was necessary to open up that discussion. And I also didn't sit into that new identity for quite some time. I was still wearing my loose, baggy clothing from when I was a plus size girl to when I was no longer plus. I was still wearing that loose clothing because it was comfortable, it felt good, it was part of my identity, who I was before. And by the way, I've always been overweight. I've always been obese. I was morbidly obese at one point in my childhood. And when I started my weight loss journey. So to me, I was always a fat girl, right? That was my identity. And that was what I put upon myself. That's what other people put upon me. It was a combination of a bunch of different factors. But I never had an identity as a thin person. So that was one of my biggest realizations post weight loss was, oh, I don't have to wear these plus size clothes anymore because I can fit into something else. And that's one of the fun things, but it also takes some time for your mind to catch up to where your body is, right? You can do amazing things with your body and be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I did that, and still be like, who am I? Where do I go with this? Like, how do I imagine myself in this world now? And it might be quite a shift for a lot of people. I think that's why these biggest losers were struggling once they left the ranch and left the 24/7 support with amazing experts, went back to their home life. They didn't have an identity as that thinner person in their home environment. They didn't. And they probably didn't get the support they needed from that amazing expert team after the show ended, because the show moved on to the next group of people, right? That was their point. Their point was not maintain the loss. The point was lose it, and lose it fast, and do whatever you can to lose it. That's not how I work with people. And that's not my focus either. My focus is to help you maintain it for life, like I did, like you can. And here's the thing, so I'm going to get my little soapbox for 2 seconds. Every single one of you watching this video, and every single person I've connected with on a phone call, every single audience I've spoken to has unlimited ability to transform themselves, physically, mentally, emotionally, the whole shebang. Unlimited power. How do I know? I just know. If I can do it, and I'm not a unicorn, I'm not special, everyone can do it if they have the right tools, if they have the right support, if they are willing to embrace a new identity as part of that process. It's not easy sometimes. That sounds weird, right? It's not easy to think like a thin person. Well, maybe it's not for you. Maybe you've always called yourself the big girl, the chubby girl, the obese. I see a lot of people who take on my 5 Days to Body Bliss challenge, which is a free email challenge that fundamentally changes how you perceive your body. That's just the start. When you work with me as a coaching client, then you dig deeper and you really discover, what are your beliefs about yourself? A lot of that in your self-image is tied into your body. So we could try to change the conversation all we want away from weight into well-being. That doesn't mean it's going to change how you personally feel about that conversation, or how invested you are in that conversation, or how to break your ties with your history with that conversation. That takes a lot of work and a lot of support and a lot of the right people there by your side. That's what it takes. But it's not your fault if you haven't been able to maintain weight loss. There are tools to support you. There are techniques that will be most helpful for you. And there are the right community that will be there for you. That's what I'm building with Weightless. This is my business page. I also have a group called Weight No More, WEIGHT. That is where you can find the right support. By the way, everything we do is not designed for, oh, post your scale picture in this group. I don't care. Like, we will be focusing on certain things and measurement tools, but only the right tools that are applicable for your situation. We're not trying to compete with anyone but ourselves. Nobody else in the group is competing with you. You are not competing with anyone else in our group. Speaking of groups, I am offering an invitation. I am masterminding a brand new program. I don't have a title for it. Tentatively, it was going to be Maintain Your Way or Don't Break the Chain. Here's how this can help you. Maintenance is not as hard as people say it is, as long as you lose weight the same way you maintain it. That's the secret sauce. But here's also another piece of the secret sauce, is don't break the chain. Maintaining your weight is about the consistent daily habits that you have. Some of those habits are supporting your weight maintenance, and some of them are not supporting them. I can help you with figuring out which of those habits will keep you at the same weight. Because here's the interesting thing. Instead of focusing on weight loss, what if you just focus on maintaining? How would that conversation feel to you? Maybe it's not as exciting. Maybe it's not like, oh, I can show that I dropped 10 pounds in 1 month. Maybe that doesn't feel like an achievement to maintain your weight, but it is an achievement. Because one consistent habit in our life can shift the needle for us and help us embrace that new identity of a person who is in control, if you will. I hear a lot of people talk about, I can't control myself, I'm addicted, I don't know what to do in this situation because here's what I've done before. You do have control. And part of seizing that control is taking the baby step of maintaining where you are today. Most of us don't have the tools to maintain. We know what to do to lose. We're serial losers, right? We lose all the time doing this approach, that approach, this approach. It happens all the time. Some of us are really good at it. We're just not good at maintaining. So for December, I'm going to offer a brand new program, 30 days worth of accountability to maintain your weight. So you start 2019 at the same weight as you ended 2018. Sounds kind of stupid, right? It's like, oh, what does that help me with? Well, it helps you with starting the new year on the right foot because you've already done 30 days of a consistent one daily habit. You didn't break the chain. You did it every day. If that sounds overwhelming to you, don't worry. It's not like, oh, I have to eat right. I have to exercise. I have to do this. I have one daily habit. You determine how much time you're advocating for this habit, because you will become an advocate for this habit. It will have to be something that's related to helping you maintain your weight. Maintain your weight. This is not a weight loss challenge. Maintain it to stay consistent with this one daily habit. And I'll help you with figuring out what that looks like for you. But we will have weigh-ins for this challenge. It's not a challenge. For this group, this program, if you will. We will have weigh-ins so that you know where you are and you know what you need to do to stay where you are. If you don't measure it, it doesn't get better. That's why I don't shy away from weight-centric approaches. Weight is a very useful measurement tool. I want you to get used to this as a tool, not as a judgment, not as a value statement. It's not. It's a tool. And when we shift the conversation away from it being a very challenging conversation to being just another tool amongst many other tools, then we stop putting so much pressure on ourselves, right? It's just a tool. It'll help us maintain what we're trying to do. And that's the point of any sort of health program, to maintain a certain level of satisfaction. And would it feel satisfying to you to maintain your weight for 30 days just by focusing on one small habit? I think it would satisfy me. I already know what my goal is, by the way, so I'll share that if you are interested in having a conversation with me. I'm happy to share that publicly once I start talking more about this group. But if you're interested in joining us for the maintenance challenge, the one daily habit for December, I want to have a conversation with you. I haven't figured out all the details, but I do want to know who's in and who is a yes, because I want to talk to you and see what you're looking for. I told you in a nutshell what it's going to involve, but let's figure out the details together, because that's where change happens, is when you co-create a model that can work for you. I'm going to pop my link for my scheduling tool below this video if you're interested in having a conversation with me about this new program. If you just want to have a random conversation about, weight restrictive diets or taking the conversation away from weight, pop it below this video and I will respond to you over the course of the next week, because I want to know your thoughts on this conversation. I want to know what your experience with this conversation has been, and if it's been helpful for you to go non-scale. Maybe some of you watching this video have gone non-scale. I want to hear from you because I want to know what your experiences have been. For me, the scale is a useful tool. It's a measurement, and I want my clients to have some sort of measurement for their success. Some of it involves the scale, some of it doesn't. But for this particular program that I'm talking about, maintain your way, don't break the chain, something like that, we will be using the scale as a tool. It doesn't measure your worth or your value. You measure your worth and your value. So thank you so much for watching this video. My invitation to you is to schedule a phone call with me. Let's talk about this program. Let's talk about how it can support you and how to start 2019 at your healthiest ever, because you know how to maintain consistency with your habits, the habits that matter. This is Jenn Espinosa-Goswami coming to you live from Weightless, and we'll talk soon. Bye-bye.